Still got perfect aim.
The divorce papers were supposed to arrive next Tuesday. Instead, I found Monica's phone buzzing at 3 in the morning with a text that read, "Can't wait to feel you again tomorrow night, baby." The sender? Brady Voss, her boss at the tech startup where she'd been working late every night for the past 3 months. I'm Eddie Harlan, 38 years old, former military sniper turned home security contractor. I've seen enough deception in war zones to recognize it in my own bedroom. But this was amateur hour. Monica slipped through our front door like a ghost, thinking I was asleep. Her heels clicked against the hardwood floor in our suburban home, the same house we'd bought 5 years ago when we still believed in forever. The neighborhood was one of those picture-perfect places where secrets festered behind manicured lawns and white picket fences. "Working late again?" I asked from the shadows of our living room. She jumped, dropping her purse. Lipstick and breath mints scattered across the floor, along with a second phone I'd never seen before. "Eddie, God, you scared me." Her voice had that breathless quality it used to have when we were first dating. Except now I knew it came from someone else's bed. Rough night at the office? I stood up slowly, my 6-foot frame casting a long shadow in the moonlight streaming through our bay windows. Monica's eyes darted to the scattered contents of her purse. "Just the usual. You know how demanding the tech industry can be." I picked up the burner phone, its screen still glowing with Brady's message. "Funny thing about technology, Mon. It leaves trails." Her face went white. "Eddie, I can explain." "Can you? Because this message from Brady suggests you two have been doing more than discussing quarterly reports." She lunged for the phone, but I held it out of reach. At 5'4", Monica had always been petite, but now she looked fragile, desperate. "It's not what you think," she said, her voice cracking. "Really? Because Brady seems pretty explicit about what he wants to do to you tomorrow night, and judging by your response, you're equally enthusiastic." I scrolled through the messages, each one more incriminating than the last. Photos, videos, detailed plans for their next encounter. 3 months of betrayal documented in digital detail. "You don't understand the pressure I'm under at work," Monica said, tears starting to flow. "Brady and we just connected. It wasn't supposed to happen." But it did happen, repeatedly. In his office, at the Marriott downtown, even in our guest bedroom when I was out of town last month. Her tears stopped. "How did you—" "I install security systems for a living, Monica. Did you really think I wouldn't notice the cameras in our own house being repositioned?" The silence stretched between us like a taut wire. Outside, Mrs. Carmody's dog was barking at something in the darkness. Our elderly neighbor was probably watching from her window, collecting gossip for her morning coffee rounds. "What do you want?" Monica finally asked. "I want to know why. 5 years of marriage and you throw it away for some Jim Bro CEO who probably can't even spell your name correctly. Brady's not like that. He's successful, ambitious." "He's married, Monica, with 2 kids. Did you forget that part, or did it just make the whole thing more exciting?" She had the decency to look ashamed, but it was too little, too late. I held up the phone again. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to text Brady right now and tell him the party's over." "I can't do that." "Why not?" "Because—" She hesitated, and I saw something flicker across her face. Fear? Guilt? "Because it's complicated. Uncomplicated." "You don't understand. Brady's not just my boss. He's—" She stopped herself. "He's what, Monica?" "Nothing. Forget it." But I could see there was more to this story. In my military days, I'd learned to read people's tells, and Monica was broadcasting secrets like a radio tower. I typed a message on her phone. "It's over. My husband knows everything." "Don't send that!" Monica lunged for the phone again. "Give me one good reason why not. Because Brady won't just let this go. He's not the kind of man who accepts rejection well. Is that a threat?" "It's a warning. You don't know what he's capable of." I hit send. The response came back within 30 seconds. "Your husband's a loser, baby. Come to my place tonight and we'll figure this out together." I showed Monica the screen. "Looks like your boyfriend doesn't respect your decision. Or your marriage." "Eddie, please. You're making this worse." "Worse for who? You or him?" Before she could answer, my phone buzzed. A call from an unknown number. "Eddie Harlan?" The voice was smooth, confident, and completely unfamiliar. "Who's asking?" "Brady Voss. I think we need to have a conversation about your wife." Monica's face went pale as she realized I'd put the call on speaker. There's nothing to discuss, I said. Stay away from my family. See, that's where you're wrong, Eddie. Monica and I have something special. Something you obviously can't provide, or she wouldn't have come looking for a real man. A real man who hides behind his secretary's skirts and cheats on his own wife? At least I can satisfy a woman. When's the last time you made Monica scream your name? I felt that old calm settle over me. The same kind I used to feel before doing something irreversible. When's the last time you had to look over your shoulder, Brady? Is that a threat? It's a promise. Stay away from my wife, or you'll discover exactly what kind of skills the Army taught me. Tough guy, huh? We'll see about that. The line went dead. Monica was staring at me with a mixture of fear and something else. Excitement? You just made everything worse, she whispered. No, Monica, you did that 3 months ago when you decided our marriage vows were just suggestions. I walked toward the stairs, then turned back. Pack a bag. You can stay at your sister's place until we figure out what comes next. Eddie, wait. We can work this out. It was just a mistake. The only mistake was me trusting you. As I climbed the stairs to our bedroom, I heard Monica sobbing in the living room below, but I also heard something else, the sound of her dialing a number on her regular phone. Brady, it's me. We have a problem. I smiled grimly. Brady Voss had no idea what kind of problem he'd just inherited, but he was about to learn. The war had taught me patience, strategy, and how to eliminate targets without leaving fingerprints. Brady thought he was dealing with some pathetic simp of a suburban husband, a loser who'd roll over and accept defeat. He was wrong. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat in my basement workshop cleaning my hunting rifles and planning my next move. The basement was my sanctuary, a place where I maintained my tools, worked on security equipment, and thought through complex problems. The walls were lined with certificates from my military service and photos from my contracting business. Monica had left for her sister's place around dawn, but not before making 3 more phone calls to Brady. I'd listened to every word through the baby monitor we'd installed upstairs when we were still planning to have children. Another dream that died somewhere along the way. By 8 a.m., I was having coffee at Shelley's Diner, the local gossip headquarters where information flowed faster than the coffee. Shelley Martinez had been slinging hash and collecting secrets for 15 years. If you wanted to know something about someone in our town, Shelley was your source. You look like heck, Eddie, she said, pouring my usual black coffee. Rough night. I heard Monica's car leaving pretty early this morning. Everything okay at home? Depends on your definition of okay. Shelley leaned against the counter, her weathered face showing genuine concern. Want to talk about it? Not yet, but when I do, you'll be the first to know. She nodded knowingly. It's always the quiet ones you have to watch out for. The quiet ones? The wives who suddenly start working late, buying new clothes, caring about their appearance again. I've seen it 100 times, honey. How does it usually end? Badly, for everyone involved. I finished my coffee and left a generous tip. Thanks, Shelley. Eddie, whatever you're planning, be smart about it. I drove to my office, a small building I shared with 2 other security contractors. My business partner, Duke Williams, was already there, reviewing installation schedules. Duke was built like a linebacker and had served with me in the Middle East. He now worked nights as a bouncer at Club Velocity downtown while running security jobs during the day. You look like you've been hit by a truck, Duke said. Monica's been cheating. Duke set down his coffee cup. Crap, man. I'm sorry, you sure? Caught her red-handed last night. Guy's name is Brady Voss. He's her boss. The tech startup CEO? I've seen him at the club. Arrogant prick who thinks money makes him bulletproof. Not anymore. Duke studied my face. What are you thinking? I'm thinking Brady needs to understand that actions have consequences. Eddie, don't do anything stupid. You've got too much to lose. I've already lost everything that mattered. No, you haven't. You've got your business, your reputation, your freedom. Don't throw it all away because your wife's a cheating hoe. I appreciated Duke's bluntness, but he didn't understand. This wasn't just about Monica's betrayal. It was about respect, dignity, and making sure Brady Voss learned that some men don't just roll over and die. I need a favor, I said. What kind of favor? The kind where you don't ask questions. Duke was quiet for a long moment. When? Tonight. That evening, I waited in my truck outside Brady's downtown condo building. He lived on the 15th floor of a glass tower that screamed new money and poor taste. According to Monica's phone records, she'd been there 17 times in the past 3 months. At 9 p.m., Brady's black BMW pulled into the underground garage. He was alone, which surprised me. I'd expected Monica to be with him. I followed him to the elevator, staying far enough back to avoid the security cameras I'd helped install in similar buildings. Brady was tall, probably 6'2", with a kind of artificially perfect physique that came from expensive personal trainers and performance-enhancing supplements. His suit probably cost more than most people made in a month. He got off on the 15th floor. I took the stairs. Brady's condo was at the end of the hall, which made surveillance easier. I positioned myself in the stairwell and waited. Through the door's peephole, I could see him pacing around his living room, talking on his phone. "She's being dramatic," I heard him say. "Her husband's just some rent-a-cop. He's not going to do anything." That's when I smiled. At midnight, Duke and two of his bouncer friends entered the building through the service entrance I'd unlocked earlier. They were wearing ski masks and dark clothing, looking exactly like the kind of home invaders that rich guys like Brady had nightmares about. I'd given them explicit instructions. Scare him, don't hurt him. Make him understand that his actions had consequences, but don't do anything that would land us in prison. They knocked on Brady's door. "Who is it?" Brady called out. "Building maintenance. We have reports of a gas leak." Brady opened the door, and Duke's team pushed inside. I couldn't see what happened next, but I could hear Brady's panicked voice through the thin walls. "What do you want? I have money." "We want you to listen carefully," Duke said in a disguised voice. "You've been messing with the wrong man's wife." "I don't know what you're talking about." "Monica Harlan. Ring any bells?" There was silence then. "Oh God, Eddie sent you." "Eddie didn't send us, but Eddie knows people. People who don't appreciate homewreckers." "Look, I'll end it with Monica. I'll transfer to another city. Just don't hurt me." "Hurting you would be too easy. We want you to understand that your actions affect other people. Real people with real consequences." They stayed for exactly 10 minutes, then left through the same service entrance. Brady didn't call the police. Rich guys who are cheating on their wives rarely want to invite that kind of scrutiny. But he did call Monica. I was listening when her phone rang at her sister's house. "Brady? What's wrong? You sound terrible." "Your husband sent men to my apartment. They threatened me." "What? Eddie wouldn't do that." "Wouldn't he? You said yourself he was military. These guys knew exactly what they were doing." "What did they want?" "For me to stay away from you. And I think maybe we should take a break until this blows over." There was a long pause. "You're abandoning me?" "I'm being practical. Your husband is clearly unstable. My husband is a security contractor, not a criminal. The men who visited me tonight would disagree." Monica was crying now. "So that's it? You're just going to throw away everything we have?" "Monica, be realistic. You're married. I'm married. This was always going to end eventually." "You bastard. You said you loved me." "I do love you, but I love my freedom more." The line went dead. I sat in my truck, listening to Monica sob through the baby monitor, and felt something I hadn't experienced in months: satisfaction. Brady Voss was learning that consequences were a witch, but this was just the opening move. The real game was about to begin. Brady thought one scare would end it. He was wrong. The next morning, I drove to Monica's sister's house in the suburbs. Jennifer lived in one of those cookie-cutter developments where every house looked identical except for the mailbox decorations. She'd always disapproved of me, thinking Monica had married beneath her station. Now she was about to learn why that was a mistake. I knocked on the front door. Jennifer answered, looking like she'd rather find a rattlesnake on her doorstep. "Eddie, what do you want?" "To talk to my wife." "She doesn't want to see you. That's not your decision to make." Jennifer was a smaller version of Monica, but with more attitude and less sense. "Actually, it is my decision. This is my house. And Monica is still my wife, legally, financially, and in every other way that matters." "Not for long, from what I hear." I smiled. "Is that what she told you? That she's filing for divorce?" "Among other things." "What other things?" Jennifer hesitated, realizing she'd said too much. "Let me guess," I continued. "She told you I was manipulative, controlling, maybe even unstable." She showed me the bruises on her wrists. That stopped me cold. "What bruises? The ones you gave her when you grabbed her last night?" I hadn't touched Monica, not once, but I was starting to understand her game plan. "Jennifer, I need you to listen very carefully. I never laid a hand on Monica. Not last night, not ever. If she has bruises, she put them there herself. That's ridiculous. Is it? Ask yourself this, in 5 years of marriage, have you ever seen Monica with unexplained injuries before? Have I ever shown any signs of violence or aggression? Jennifer's confidence wavered slightly. Monica is setting me up, I continued. She's trying to paint a picture of a toxic marriage so she can take half of everything I own and walk away clean. You're paranoid. I'm experienced. I've seen this playbook before. Monica appeared behind her sister, looking appropriately fragile and wounded. She'd done her makeup to emphasize dark circles under her eyes, and she was wearing long sleeves despite the warm weather. Eddie, please leave. You're scaring Jennifer's children. I'm not here to scare anyone. I'm here to discuss our situation like adults. There's nothing to discuss. I've already contacted a lawyer. Have you? Which lawyer? That's none of your business. Actually, it is my business, especially since you'll be asking for alimony from a marriage you destroyed. Jennifer stepped between us. I think you should leave. I think Monica should show you those bruises she claims I gave her. Monica's face flushed. I don't have to prove anything to you. No, but you'll have to prove it to a judge, and judges tend to ask for medical records, police reports, witness statements. Funny thing about evidence, it's hard to fake. I could see the wheels turning in Monica's head. She hadn't thought this through as carefully as she'd believed. The lawyer says I have a strong case, she said weakly. What lawyer, Monica? Give me a name. Robert Chen from Chen, Martinez and Associates. I pulled out my phone and dialed information. Yes, I need the number for Chen, Martinez and Associates. There was a pause. I'm sorry, sir, there's no listing for that firm in our database. I hung up and looked at Monica. Interesting. Your lawyer doesn't seem to exist. Monica's face went white. I might have gotten the name wrong. Or you might be lying. Again. Jennifer was looking at her sister with growing suspicion. Monica, what's going on? Nothing. Eddie's just trying to confuse everyone. I decided to play my ace. Monica, show Jennifer the text messages from Brady. What text messages? The ones where he dumps you after my friends visited him last night. Monica's mouth fell open. How did you know about Brady's late-night visitors? Lucky guess. Jennifer turned to her sister. Who's Brady? Nobody, just a coworker. A coworker who's been sleeping with your sister for 3 months, I said. A married coworker who abandoned her the minute things got complicated. Monica, is this true? Monica started crying, but they weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of rage and frustration. You bastard, she hissed at me. You sent criminals to threaten Brady. I didn't send anyone anywhere, but I'm not surprised Brady jumped to that conclusion. Guilty consciences make people paranoid. Jennifer grabbed Monica's arm. You've been cheating on Eddie. It's not that simple. Yes, it is that simple. You took vows, you made promises, and you broke them. I almost felt sorry for Monica. Almost. The marriage was already over, Monica said. Eddie and I haven't been happy for years. So you decided to fix that by screwing your boss? Jennifer was clearly disgusted with her sister. Monica was losing allies faster than she could make excuses. I think you should pack your things, Jennifer said quietly. What? You're throwing me out? I'm not getting involved in this mess. Find somewhere else to stay while you figure out your life. Monica looked at me with pure hatred. This is all your fault. No, Monica, this is all your fault. You made the choice to cheat. You made the choice to lie. You tried to destroy my reputation by playing the victim. I'm just making sure the truth comes out. She stormed back into the house, slamming the door behind her. Jennifer looked at me apologetically. I'm sorry, Eddie. I had no idea. It's not your fault. Monica's always been good at playing the victim. What are you going to do now? Whatever it takes to protect myself and my business. I drove back to my office, where Duke was waiting with coffee and a grim expression. We might have a problem, he said. What kind of problem? Brady filed a police report about last night. Did he mention Monica? No, he claimed it was a random home invasion. Then we don't have a problem. Random home invasions happen all the time in the city. Eddie, the detective assigned to the case, is Mike Harper. I knew Mike from my contracting work. He was honest, thorough, and smart enough to see through Brady's story if he dug deep enough. Has he contacted you? Not yet, but he will. My phone rang. Mike Harper. Eddie, I need to ask you a few questions about Brady Voss. What about him? He was the victim of a home invasion last night. 3 men in masks threatened him and mentioned your wife's name. That's interesting. Why would random criminals know about Monica? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Where were you last night between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m.? At home, reviewing security footage from a job site? Can anyone verify that? The footage is time-stamped. I was logged into our company server from my home computer. I'll need to see those logs. No problem. Mike, can I ask you something? Sure. Did Brady mention why these alleged criminals might have been interested in Monica? There was a pause. He said he didn't know. That's strange. Most random home invaders don't research their victims' personal relationships. Yeah, that occurred to me too. After Mike hung up, I turned to Duke. We need to be more careful. Or we need to be more creative. What do you mean? I mean, maybe it's time to let Brady destroy himself. Duke was right. The direct approach was too risky, but Brady Voss had weaknesses, and I was about to exploit every single one of them. The hunt was just beginning. Brady's weakness was his ego. Like most narcissists, he couldn't resist bragging about his conquests, especially when he thought he was safe. That's why I wasn't surprised when Mrs. Carmody called me with interesting news. Eddie, dear, you might want to know that your wife was at the Marriott downtown yesterday afternoon. Mrs. Carmody was 73 years old and had been widowed for 15 years. Her hobby was collecting neighborhood gossip, which she dispensed with surgical precision. Was she alone? No, she was with that handsome man in the expensive suit. They looked very cozy. So Brady had lied about ending things with Monica. Interesting. Did they see you? Oh, heavens no. I was having tea with my bridge club in the hotel restaurant. We have a perfect view of the lobby from our usual table. Thanks for letting me know. Eddie, that girl doesn't deserve you. She never did. Mrs. Carmody was right, but that wasn't the point anymore. This was about justice, respect, and making sure Brady Voss learned that some men fight back. I drove to Club Velocity, where Duke was setting up for the evening shift. The club was one of those upscale places that attracted young professionals with more money than sense. Perfect hunting ground for predators like Brady. I need another favor, I told Duke. What kind of favor? The kind where Brady Voss has a very public meltdown. Duke grinned. Now you're talking my language. I explained my plan. It was simple, elegant, and completely legal. Brady's ego would do most of the work for us. When do we do this? Duke asked. Friday night. Brady always comes here on Fridays. How do you know that? Because I've been watching him for a week. He has patterns, routines. Like most cheaters, he thinks he's invisible. Friday evening, I positioned myself at the bar where I could see the entire club. Brady arrived at 10 p.m., wearing a suit that probably cost more than most people's cars. He was with 2 other men who looked like they'd stepped out of a business magazine. Duke was working the door, but he'd arranged for his replacement to take over at 10:30. That gave us a narrow window to execute the plan. At exactly 10:30, Duke approached Brady's table. Excuse me, Mr. Voss? Brady looked up, annoyed at being interrupted. Yes? There's a woman at the bar who asked me to give you this. Duke handed Brady a folded piece of paper, then walked away. Brady opened the note and his face went white. I knew what it said because I'd written it. Your wife called. She knows about Monica. She's filing for divorce and taking half of everything. Thought you should know. A friend. Brady immediately pulled out his phone and started making frantic calls. First to his wife, then to Monica, then to someone who was probably his lawyer. Each conversation was more heated than the last. His business associates were looking uncomfortable. Whatever Brady was saying, it wasn't appropriate for a public venue. That's when I made my move. I walked over to Brady's table and sat down uninvited. Gentlemen, I'm Eddie Harlan. I think you know my wife, Monica. Brady's face went from white to red. What the heck are you doing here? Having a drink. This is a public establishment. You sent me that note. What note? Brady waved the paper. This note about my wife. I have no idea what you're talking about. But since you mention your wife, how do you think she'd feel about your relationship with Monica? Brady's business associates were listening now, their faces showing growing concern. I don't know what you're implying, Brady started. I'm not implying anything. I'm stating facts. You've been sleeping with my wife for 3 months. You've been using your position as her boss to pressure her into something she never would have agreed to otherwise. And you've been doing it while married to someone else. That's not true. Really? Because I have text messages, photos, and hotel receipts that say otherwise. One of Brady's associates leaned forward. Brady, what's he talking about? Nothing. This man is delusional. I pulled out my phone and showed them a screenshot of one of Brady's more explicit messages to Monica. Does this look delusional to you? Brady lunged across the table, trying to grab my phone. You can't show them that. Why not? You wrote it. Duke appeared at my shoulder. Is there a problem here, gentlemen? This man is harassing us, Brady said. Actually, this man is a paying customer having a quiet conversation. You're the one who's being loud and disruptive. Brady looked around and realized that half the club was staring at our table. His outburst had drawn exactly the kind of attention he couldn't afford. We're leaving, he told his associates. Actually, Brady, we need to talk, one of them said, about the company's morality clause. Brady's face went ashen. What morality clause? The one that says executives can't engage in behavior that brings negative publicity to the firm. Using your position to pressure employees definitely qualifies. Monica wasn't harassed. It was consensual. Between a boss and his subordinate, our lawyers would disagree. I stood up. Gentlemen, enjoy your evening. As I walked away, I could hear Brady's world collapsing behind me. His associates were already distancing themselves, talking about emergency board meetings and damage control. Duke caught up with me at the bar. That was beautiful. That was just the opening act. My phone buzzed. A text from Monica. What did you do to Brady? He's having a complete breakdown. I typed back. I told the truth. You should try it sometime. She called immediately. Eddie, you have to stop this. Brady's saying he doesn't want to live anymore. That's unfortunate. Maybe he should have thought about consequences before deciding to destroy 2 marriages. He's not thinking clearly. He's been drinking and taking pills. What kind of pills? I don't know. Prescription stuff. He says he can't handle the stress. I felt a flicker of concern. I wanted Brady humiliated and ruined, not dead. Where is he now? At his apartment. I'm going over there. Monica, don't. If he's really having a breakdown, you being there will only make it worse. I can't just abandon him. You abandoned me easily enough. That's different. How? Because I love him. Those 4 words hit me harder than I'd expected. Not because they hurt, but because they revealed how delusional Monica had become. Monica, Brady doesn't love you. He never did. You were just a convenient piece of A until things got complicated. You're wrong. Am I? Then why did he try to dump you after my friends visited him? He was scared. That's understandable. And why did he lie to you about ending things when he was still meeting you at hotels? Silence. Monica, Brady is using you. He's using you to feel powerful, to feed his ego, to prove he can take whatever he wants. The moment you become inconvenient, he'll throw you away like garbage. You don't know him. I know men like him. I've dealt with them my entire adult life. They're predators, Monica, and you're just the latest prey. She hung up. 20 minutes later, my phone rang again. This time it was Brady. Your wife is here, he said. His voice was slurred, barely coherent. That's her choice. She's crying. She says you're trying to destroy both of us. I'm trying to protect myself and my business from the consequences of your actions. I could have you ended, you know. I have connections. No, Brady, you don't. You have drinking buddies and golf partners. I have people who actually know how to handle problems. Is that a threat? It's a reality check. You're not as powerful as you think you are. We'll see about that. The line went dead. I looked at Duke. I think Brady's about to do something stupid. Stupider than what he's already done. Much stupider. My phone rang again. This time it was Detective Harper. Eddie, I need you to come down to the station. What for? Brady Voss is claiming you've been stalking and threatening him. That's interesting. Did he mention why I might be stalking him? He says you're mentally unstable and obsessed with his success. I laughed. Mike, Brady's been sleeping with my wife for 3 months. If anyone's obsessed, it's him. Can you prove that? Absolutely. Then get down here and bring your proof. This is about to get very complicated. As I drove to the police station, I realized Brady had just made his biggest mistake yet. He'd involved law enforcement in a situation where he had the most to lose. Some people never learn. Detective Mike Harper was waiting for me in interview room B, looking like a man who'd rather be anywhere else. We'd worked together on several security installations for the police department, and he knew I wasn't the type to make idle threats. Eddie, Brady Voss is claiming you've been harassing him for weeks. He says you sent men to his apartment, followed him to restaurants, and threatened his life. Did he mention why I might be interested in his activities? He says you're jealous of his success. I pulled out Monica's burner phone, which I'd kept as evidence. Mike, I want you to look at something. I scrolled through the messages between Monica and Brady, showing Mike the timeline of their affair. 3 months of explicit texts, photos, and detailed plans for their encounters. Jesus Christ, Mike muttered. Your wife? My wife. Brady's been sleeping with her since February. He's also been using his position as her boss to influence the relationship. That crosses a serious professional line. At minimum, it's also adultery, which affects property division in divorce proceedings. Mike studied the phone more carefully. These messages are pretty serious, but Brady's claiming you're the aggressor here. Mike, think about it logically. If I were really stalking Brady, would I be stupid enough to leave evidence? I install security systems for a living. I know how surveillance works. So, you're saying you didn't send men to his apartment? I'm saying Brady's paranoid. Cheaters always think they're being watched because they know they deserve to be. Mike leaned back in his chair. Eddie, I've known you for 5 years. You're not the type to hire thugs, but Brady seems genuinely scared. He should be scared, not of me, but of the consequences of his actions. His business partners are already distancing themselves. His wife is probably going to take him to the cleaners in divorce court, and his reputation in the business community is ruined. How do you know about his business partners? Because I was at Club Velocity last night when they found out about his affair. They were talking about morality clauses and emergency board meetings. Mike made a note. Were you there to confront Brady? I was there for a drink. Brady's the one who made it confrontational. According to Brady, you showed his business associates explicit photos of him and your wife. I showed them text messages he sent to Monica, messages that prove he's been crossing serious boundaries with an employee. Mike was quiet for a long moment. Eddie, I need to ask you directly. Did you or anyone acting on your behalf threaten Brady Voss? No. Did you send men to his apartment? No. Do you have any plans to harm Brady Voss physically? Mike, I'm not going to prison because my wife can't keep her legs closed. I'm handling this legally and professionally. Mike closed his notebook. Okay, but I need you to stay away from Brady. No contact, no surveillance, no showing up at places where he's likely to be. That's going to be difficult. Why? Because Brady works with my wife, and until our divorce is finalized, I have a legal right to know where my wife is and what she's doing. Mike rubbed his temples. This is a mess. Yes, it is, but it's Brady's mess, not mine. As I left the police station, my phone rang. Jennifer, Monica's sister. Eddie, you need to know something. Monica's been lying to everyone. About what? About everything. The bruises, the lawyer, even the affair. What do you mean? I mean, the affair is worse than she told you, and Brady isn't the only one. That stopped me cold. What are you talking about? Monica's been seeing multiple men. Brady's just the most recent. How do you know this? Because she got drunk last night and started bragging about how she'd been playing you for months. She said you were so naive that you never suspected anything. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. Who else? Her personal trainer, some guy from her yoga class, and a married man from her book club. She said she was collecting evidence of your neglect to use in divorce proceedings. Evidence of my neglect. She's been documenting every time you worked late, every business trip, every night you fell asleep on the couch. She's going to claim you were emotionally absent, and that drove her to seek affection elsewhere. That's not how marriage law works. She doesn't care. She just wants to destroy you and take everything you've built. I thanked Jennifer and hung up, my mind racing. Monica wasn't just cheating. She was running a long-term con designed to strip me of my assets and reputation. But she'd made one crucial mistake. She'd underestimated me. I called Duke. I need to see you, now. We met at my office, where I laid out everything Jennifer had told me. So Monica's been planning this for months, Duke said. Maybe longer. I think the whole marriage has been a setup. What do you want to do? I want to give Monica and Brady exactly what they deserve, which is public humiliation, financial ruin, and social exile. Duke grinned. Now you're talking. I spent the next 2 hours making phone calls to Monica's personal trainer, her yoga instructor, and the president of her book club. By evening, I had a complete picture of Monica's activities. She'd been sleeping with her trainer for 6 months, using our joint credit card to pay for private sessions that had nothing to do with fitness. The yoga instructor confirmed that Monica had been having an affair with another student, a married accountant named David Kim. And the book club president was shocked to learn that Monica had been meeting one of the members, Robert Chen, at hotels during their supposed literary discussions. But the most interesting discovery came from Monica's phone records, which I could access as her husband on our family plan. She'd been in contact with a divorce attorney for 8 months, long before the Brady affair began. Monica had been planning to leave me since last summer. Everything since then had been theater designed to maximize her settlement. I called Monica. Eddie, what do you want? I want to meet tonight, neutral ground. Why? Because we need to discuss our divorce terms. I thought you were fighting the divorce. I've changed my mind. You're right, our marriage is over, but we need to negotiate the settlement. Monica was quiet for a moment. Where do you want to meet? The Marriott downtown, the same hotel where you've been meeting your boyfriends. Eddie, Monica, I know about all of them. David, Robert, the trainer. I know about the divorce attorney you've been seeing since last summer. I know this whole thing has been a setup. Silence. So, here's what's going to happen, I continued. You're going to meet me at the Marriott at 9 p.m. You're going to bring Brady if you want. And we're going to have an honest conversation about what happens next. And if I don't, then I release everything I know to your employer, your family, your friends, and the local newspaper. Your choice. She hung up. At 9 p.m., I was sitting in the Marriott bar when Monica arrived. She was alone, looking nervous and defensive. Where's Brady? I asked. He's indisposed. Still having his breakdown? He's getting help. Good for him. Sit down, Monica. She sat across from me, her hands shaking slightly. I know everything, I said quietly. The multiple affairs, the planned divorce, the lies you were going to use against me to ruin my name. All of it? I don't know what you're talking about. I pulled out a folder and spread its contents across the table. Phone records, credit card statements, photos, witness statements from her various lovers. Monica's face went white. Here's what's going to happen, I said. You're going to sign a divorce agreement that gives you nothing except your personal belongings. No alimony, no property settlement, no claim on my business. That's not legal. Actually, it is. Adultery affects property division in this state. Multiple affairs with documented evidence. You'll be lucky to get bus fare out of town. You can't prove any of this. Monica, I have video footage from the hotels, testimony from your lovers, and phone records that show you've been planning this for months. What exactly do you think I can't prove? She started crying, but they were tears of rage, not sadness. You bastard. You've been spying on me. You've been stealing from me. Our joint accounts, our credit cards, our home. You've been using everything I've worked for to finance your affairs. I deserve half of everything. I've been your wife for 5 years. You've been my enemy for 5 years. There's a difference. Monica wiped her eyes, her expression hardening. Fine. What do you want? I want you to disappear, leave town, start over somewhere else, and never contact me again. And if I don't, then I destroy you, professionally, socially, financially. I have enough evidence to ruin every relationship you've ever had and ensure you never work in this industry again. Monica stared at the evidence spread across the table, calculating her options. How do I know you won't use this stuff anyway? Because I'm not like you, Monica. I don't get pleasure from destroying people. I just want you out of my life. She was quiet for a long moment. I'll need money to relocate. You'll get whatever's in your personal checking account. Nothing more. That's only $3,000. Then you better find a cheap apartment. Monica signed the divorce papers with shaking hands. As she prepared to leave, she looked at me with something approaching respect. You're not the man I married? No, I said. I'm better. After Monica left, I sat in the bar for another hour, processing what had just happened. 5 years of marriage ended with a signature on legal documents. But I wasn't done yet. Brady Voss still owed me a debt, and I intended to collect. Brady's breakdown was worse than Monica had let on. According to Duke's sources at the hospital, he'd been admitted for a psychiatric evaluation after expressing a desire to end everything. His wife had filed for divorce, his business partners had voted him out of the company, and his assets were frozen pending multiple investigations. But I wanted more than Brady's professional destruction. I wanted him to understand, on a personal level, the cost of his arrogance. 3 days after Monica signed the divorce papers, Brady was released from the hospital. He'd lost 20 pounds, looked like he hadn't slept in weeks, and was living in a cheap motel on the outskirts of town. I found him at Denny's at 2 in the morning, sitting alone in a corner booth, picking at a plate of eggs that had long since gone cold. Brady. He looked up, his eyes hollow and unfocused. Eddie? Come to gloat? Come to talk? I sat down across from him. Up close, Brady looked even worse than I'd imagined. His expensive suit had been replaced by wrinkled khakis and a stained polo shirt. His perfectly styled hair was greasy and unkempt. You look like heck, I said. Feel worse. Good. Brady laughed bitterly. You got what you wanted. My wife left me. My company fired me. My friends won't return my calls. Are you happy now? Not yet. What more do you want? I want you to understand something. This isn't about Monica. This isn't about revenge. This is about respect. Respect? You thought you could take whatever you wanted without consequences. You thought I was just some blue-collar loser who'd roll over and accept it like a pathetic simp. Brady was quiet, staring at his cold eggs. You were wrong, I continued. I'm not nobody. I'm a man who built a business from nothing, who served his country with honor, who treated his marriage vows as sacred promises. You tried to destroy all of that because you were bored and entitled. I never meant for it to go this far. Yes, you did. You wanted to prove you were better than me, richer, more successful, more attractive to women. You wanted to humiliate me. Brady finally looked up. You're right, I did want to humiliate you. Why? Because guys like you make guys like me feel small. You actually earned what you have. You actually deserve respect. I inherited my money, bought my way into business school, and charmed my way into executive positions. Everything I have is fake. It was the first honest thing Brady had said since I'd known him. So you decided to prove your worth by stealing my wife. I decided to prove my worth by taking something from someone who actually had worth. And how did that work out for you? Brady laughed again, but there was no humor in it. I lost everything. My wife, my kids, my company, my reputation. Monica won't even return my calls. Because Monica never loved you. She loved what you represented. Money, status, excitement. When those things disappeared, so did her interest. I know that now. Do you? Or are you just feeling sorry for yourself? Brady was quiet for a long moment. What do you want me to say, Eddie? That I'm sorry? That I've learned my lesson? That I'll never do anything like this again? I want you to say whatever's true. The truth is, I hate you. I hate that you're better than me. I hate that you handled this whole situation with more class and intelligence than I've ever shown in my entire life. And I hate that even now, even after losing everything, you're still the better man. It wasn't an apology, but it was honest. The truth is, I said, you could have been better. You had every advantage, money, education, opportunity. You chose to be a predator instead. And now I'm nothing. Now you have a chance to become something real. Brady looked confused. What do you mean? I mean, you can start over. Get a real job, earn real money, build real relationships based on honesty instead of manipulation. You think I should thank you for destroying my life? I think you should thank me for showing you who you really were before it was too late to change. I stood up to leave. Eddie? Yeah? For what it's worth, Monica was never worth any of this. I know, but my self-respect was... I walked out of Denny's, leaving Brady alone with his cold eggs and his shattered illusions. The next morning, I was having coffee at Shelley's diner when Mrs. Carmody bustled in with the latest gossip. Eddie, dear, you'll never guess what happened to that awful Brady man. What happened? He left town this morning, packed everything into his car and drove away, didn't even check out of his motel properly. Where did he go? Nobody knows, but good riddance, I say. Men like that are nothing but trouble. Shelley poured me a fresh cup of coffee. What about Monica? What about her? I heard she's been staying with different friends every night. Nobody wants her around for very long. That's unfortunate. Is it, though? Mrs. Carmody asked. Some people make their own beds. I finished my coffee and left a generous tip. As I walked to my truck, I felt something I hadn't experienced in months. Peace. My phone rang. It was Duke. Eddie, you need to see the morning news. Why? Just turn on Channel 7. I turned on the radio in my truck and caught the tail end of a news report. Former tech executive Brady Voss was found dead in his car outside Las Vegas early this morning. Police believe no foul play was involved. Voss had recently been involved in a corporate scandal and was facing multiple lawsuits. I pulled over and called Duke back. "Did you hear?" he asked. "Yeah, I heard. How do you feel about it?" I thought about Brady sitting in that Denny's booth looking broken and defeated. I thought about our last conversation, about his admission that he hated himself more than he hated me. I feel like it didn't have to end this way. Eddie, this isn't your fault, isn't it? No. Brady made his choices. All of them. You just made sure he faced the consequences. Duke was right, but that didn't make me feel any better about Brady's death. That afternoon, I was working in my office when Monica called. "Did you hear about Brady?" "Yes. This is your fault." "No, Monica. This is what happens when people refuse to take responsibility for their actions. He ended himself because of what you did to him. He ended himself because he couldn't live with who he was. You destroyed him. He destroyed himself. I just refused to be collateral damage." Monica was crying now. "I loved him." "No, you didn't. You loved what he could give you. When that disappeared, you abandoned him just like everyone else." "That's not true. Monica, when's the last time you actually spoke to Brady? When's the last time you visited him or tried to help him?" Silence. "You used him just like he used you. The only difference is he couldn't handle the consequences. I hate you. I know. But that's your problem now, not mine." She hung up. I sat in my office for a long time thinking about the past few months. I'd won, Monica was out of my life, my business was intact, and my reputation was stronger than ever. But the victory felt hollow. Brady Voss was dead. My marriage was over. And I was alone in a house that still smelled like Monica's perfume. But I was free. Free from lies, manipulation, and betrayal. Free to build something better with someone who deserved my trust. 3 months later, I sold the house and moved to a smaller place across town. I expanded my business, hired 2 new employees, and started dating a woman named Sarah who worked at the library. She was kind, honest, and had never been married to anyone who cheated on her. Monica disappeared completely. Some people said she'd moved to California, others claimed she'd gone back to her hometown in Ohio. I didn't care enough to find out. Mrs. Carmody still brought me gossip, but now it was about other people's problems. Shelley still poured my coffee and offered unsolicited advice. Duke still worked security jobs and bounced at the club on weekends. Life moved on. One evening, as I was closing up the office, I found a letter that had been slipped under the door. No return address, postmarked from Nevada. "Eddie," it read, "I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I needed you to know that Brady's death wasn't your fault. He'd been planning it for weeks, maybe months. He left letters for his wife, his kids, even his business partners. But he didn't leave one for me. I guess I wasn't important enough to say goodbye to. You were right about everything. I was using him, he was using me, and neither of us cared about the people we hurt. I'm sorry for what I did to you. I'm sorry for what I did to your life. I'm sorry for being the kind of person who destroys things instead of building them. I hope you find happiness with someone who deserves you. Monica." I read the letter twice, then threw it away. Some apologies come too late to matter. But as I drove home that night, past the familiar streets of the town where I'd built my life, I realized something important. I had found happiness. Not the kind that depends on other people's approval or affection, but the kind that comes from knowing who you are and refusing to compromise your principles. Brady Voss had been right about one thing. I was the better man. Not because I was perfect, but because I'd chosen to be better. And that choice, more than any revenge or victory, was what mattered most. The war was over. I had won. And for the first time in years, that was enough.